This podcast is sponsored by Highclere Castle Gin, born from a castle, renowned for its parties and acclaimed for its taste. Highclere Castle Gin is the winner of over 200 international spirit awards with a triumphant 100-point score. Pick up a bottle for yourself at highclarecastlegin.com.
Welcome back to the SpoilerTV podcast, where we break down the week in television and dish on all your favorite TV shows. For this week's episode, I'm back with both my co-hosts, Susanna and Jessica. How are you guys today? Any exciting TV moments for you last week?
Yes, lots of them that we'll talk about today, but it was a very big and emotional week in television.
It was.
I'm excited to talk about Grays.
I heard it was very emotional.
It took me back to the old days, that's for sure. So
Okay. Well, we have a lot to talk about, but one big piece of news that dropped this week was that two of the major networks, ABC and CBS, dropped their mid-season schedules. And let's say it stirred up some controversy. So we'll break it down, but starting with ABC, because they've done something pretty crazy. They've decided that they're going to put their entire Thursday night lineup, which is their most popular night of TV, on hiatus until March 6th. So that means that 911, Grey's Anatomy, and Dr. Odyssey are all off the air for 3 months. So I don't get it. Thursday is a big deal for them. And I feel like this is a really massive risk. I don't know. What do you
I
think?
think it's ridiculous. I think it's a strange decision, but it's also a bad decision because people are invested in these TV shows, and then you've got 3 months when they are gone. You know, you've got other shows coming on air, or other shows that are going to stay on the air or come back early, and then they're gonna, maybe jump the boat on the shows that they're waiting for to take on new shows and watch them. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but I just feel like it's a bad move if they're looking at ratings. Those are their highest rating shows. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
I don't know.
it's kind
One
of feels
thing,
like when the strike happened
that's right. That's
Yes.
right.
and we had to wait forever and ever to finally get an air date. And then we get an air date and we're all finding out that there's shortened seasons and not as many episodes, like very frustrating. But
Yeah.
you've got to wonder what's driving this decision. Are they just
Yeah.
banking that because on Thursday nights, those are their kind of highest rated shows, people are just going to come back no matter what? It's hard because then, in that 3 months, maybe some people pick up a new show. And
Yeah.
so the live viewers or even PVR recorded viewers, that might go down because they picked up these new shows and they might not watch that season at all or until later in the year, right? So interesting.
Yeah, well, the other networks aren't doing that. So people are going to watch other shows. There's lots going on Thursday nights. My hope is that Found on NBC picks up ratings because right now it's not doing so great and it's such a good show that I'm hoping those Thursday night people start watching. But The Rookie and Will Trent come back finally to ABC on January 7th, but that's on Tuesday nights. But the thing is they're getting almost an uninterrupted run for 18 episodes. So that's a good thing. But when we compare it to CBS is sticking with their traditional mid-season schedule. So NCIS Origins, all those shows are taking a break, but they're coming back at the end of January, which is normal, right? They all
Which
shows
always
take a
happens, yeah.
Christmas
Always
winter
for the
break.
holidays.
Yeah. But that's long enough to give their cast and crew a breather, but not so long that viewers completely forget about them. So I feel like it's a smarter move. I really do.
Yeah, and they're going to get those people that are waiting on ABC. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's going to end up happening. Or you're
Mhm.
going to go into like Netflix. Netflix is coming out. Same with Paramount Plus, same with Hulu. I just saw like a ton of shows are starting there in December.
Mhm.
So that's where people are going to start going to, because what else are you going to do Thursday night if your show is not on for 3 months?
And Netflix is dropping some good ones starting
Oh,
in
yes.
December. So I
Yeah.
think that's going to be good for them.
Yep,
I don't
I
know.
agree.
So what are your thoughts, guys? Good idea,
Money talk,
bad idea?
bad idea, and it's all about the money.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
makes
I don't
sense.
want to wait that long. Like,
No.
Grey's Anatomy is my show. I don't want to wait
Yeah,
that long.
you'll
I'm
be
being
waiting till
selfish
March
here.
6th.
It's a terrible idea.
And you know they're going to leave it with a massive cliffhanger,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you
totally.
know?
And ABC is taking a risk, but CBS is sticking to the playbook. So I guess we'll see how this plays out. What do you guys think out there? Let us know in the comments. And NBC should be dropping their schedule this week, and it'll be interesting to see what they decide. So Let's dive into the TV drama this week, starting with, of course, Fire Country dominated the polls again, and it's not hard to see why. Wow. Okay, so I've been reading up on people's thoughts about this episode. So let's just call it what it is. Bode and Gabriella, train wreck. Um, we all saw this coming. People are not happy, but they started this whole friends with benefits thing, and it's just a bad idea, right? So Bodhi, poor guy, thinks, okay, now I get to call her my girlfriend. We're gonna go out and have dinner. And meanwhile, she's like, dude, I'm living in an Airstream. I blew up my wedding. I'm not talking to my dad. This is just physical. And her logic makes sense, but Bodhi has that hopeless romantic,
Mm-hmm.
thing that is great, but he also doesn't really understand why she's doing that, right?
Well, I also think like she's not intentionally, but she's playing with him a little bit, right? Because
Oh yeah,
she's like, sleeping with him, and then the next day we're just friends, so like
totally.
you can't really do that to a man who's clearly in love with you and
Yes.
expect him to be like, yeah, that's good, and just take that as an answer. But him comparing her dumping Diego at the altar to his liquor store
Oh
robbery
my
at
God.
gunpoint, I
Yeah.
was like, excuse me, those are two completely different situations. But yeah, the mental gymnastics with these two is next level.
Oh yeah.
But you can't deny that the drama and everything that is going on between them is entertaining. Like it's keeping me like I'm
Oh
like
yeah.
the
But
whole
the thing
episode
is,
mouth dropped.
would people honestly, okay, people might be happy if they just got together and that was that, but you need drama, you need excitement. So
It's
we
never
can't make
easy.
this, that's right. And you can't
And
make it.
if it is, something bad will happen down the line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you want it now or do you want it later? That's the way you have to think about
And
it,
this
right?
isn't even bad. This is just
No,
messy, regular relationship stuff. Like I feel like this happens a lot in the real world, you know?
absolutely. And I love that. I love that they're doing this. But
Mhm.
my favorite part of the episode was that Jared Padalecki is on. He's finally here. We knew he was coming, and he made quite the entrance at Smokey's, the reopening. So there was a barefoot karaoke fight with a flip-flop to the face, which was hilarious. Yeah, I just thought what an entrance.
Well, first off, I was dying. Him walking in with his flip flops on. I was like, who's this man? Like, what is he doing here? But imagine being the actor that had to take his naked foot to the face. Gross. I hate feet. But they deserve an award for that, for
Yeah.
sure. But in all seriousness, he came in hot,
Yeah.
and he is the ladder 42, I think it's called,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be their new cadet coach.
Mhm.
And so he's Bodhi's new boss. And Bodhi didn't know
Yeah,
that at the time,
that's
right? So he
right.
stuck up for Bodhi, which was great. I loved seeing that. But Bodhi had no clue who he was, thought he was just a new guy in town, he want a beer, shake hands, and he's like, hey, just so you know, I'm your boss.
That's funny.
I love it. I'm gonna love this dynamic. I just think they're both awesome actors, and I just think he's gonna be such a good addition. And I know right now they're just calling him recurring, but he's got nothing else. So I can see this becoming a permanent thing. But his big speech to Bodhi about, not putting things in a cage, and I thought that that was really important. And Cam sees Bodhi, so Jared Padalecki is Cam. Cam sees Bodhi as someone who's willing to take risks, and he wants to channel Bodhi's energy, right? Um, but Jake's like, no, we're following the rules because you know how Jake is, right? Mr. Rule follower. So I feel like this is going to cause some tension and that Cam and Jake are not going to see eye to eye.
Yeah, I agree. But I do like how Cam is coming in and he can see Bodhi's full potential and
Yeah.
he's really trying to push him.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, I feel like Jake kind of holds him back a little bit because
Yeah.
he is the rule follower. And I understand, like, this is a serious job. It's dangerous, right?
Like
So
for
he
that.
wants to make sure that the rules are followed and he passes all the levels before he does things like standing on top of an airplane and putting out a fire. Like, that's not
Yeah.
something like somebody at his level would typically do. But seeing Cam push him to that potential and then seeing Bodhi do it and just how happy and like good he was at it. Do you know what I mean? Like that was so great to see. And I also really liked that in this episode too, we got a lot of Cam backstory, even
Yes.
if it was just touched upon. Him telling Bode how he lost his crew because he followed protocol. And so now he's kind of like, hey, I am the way I am because of what I've been through.
That's
And
right.
this is what I see in you. And this is what I think you can do going forward.
Yeah.
I thought that that conversation that they had and getting that little bit of backstory about him and why he is the way he is, I thought that it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to end up working really well together. I don't think they'll butt heads very often, if at all. Like, I think
Yeah.
that this is a really good duo.
I think so too. I love it. I also loved that they gave us some of the backstory because we don't always get that right away with
Right.
the character. So,
Sometimes you wait a few episodes
oh
and then you're
yeah,
like, what's going on? Then you get something, right? But so I like that we got, even if it was just a little bit, he didn't go into too much detail, but we learned something.
right.
Yeah.
And now we know who he is and where he's coming from, and I think that's awesome.
Mhm.
But then back to Gabriella, so she tries to go back to the Airstream, and then she finds that random crash survivor passed out in her bed, and then she screams. I just thought, wow, that was pretty awesome.
Well, and it was like I knew she was going in there and I didn't think he was going to be in there, but he was. And then I was like, oh no, because not everybody knew she was living in the Airstream, right? So I'm like, now they're all going to find out.
That's
And this is
right.
something she's going to have to explain to them. And I feel like she's just been through so much that I actually kind of felt bad. I was like, oh no, for real. But at the same time, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe she needs to open up to more people.
Yep.
And she did have, um, I don't remember if this was closer to the end of the episode, but she had that conversation with her dad, and her dad
Yep.
even said, you need to learn to open up to people, right? Like,
Right.
if it's not me, and he understands, right? He's in jail. Like, you know, if it's not him, then at least somebody else. And I think him saying that was like Bode, like, you know, you can open up to Bode, like it's going to be okay. Or maybe somebody else on their team.
Somebody.
But she needs
Yeah.
somebody. She can't just do all this by herself. Like she's going to go insane.
Well, he
Yeah.
said you have to let anybody help you.
Mhm.
But like she doesn't even want to listen to him. And it's just, I hope she does because that was a really important conversation.
Mhm.
I also love how he called out Bode and told her he was part of the but he was. So I mean,
Parents, they know.
yeah, like you're part of that spiral, dude. Like you are. So anyway, but yeah, I found that Manny calling Gabby out was absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
And then there was Eve. She reconnected with her brother.
Oh, right, right. I forgot about that. Wow, there was so
Yeah.
much that happened in this
There is
episode.
so much. It was a packed episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And found out she's going to be an aunt, which was,
she
or
is.
aunt, you know, in America they say aunt. But
Aunt, yes.
yeah, that was so exciting, especially like, you know, she hadn't talked to him in so long, and then she finds out she's going to be an aunt, but
Yep.
can only
Big
be
but,
involved if she talks to her mom and dad.
which is not going to be easy because
Mm-mm.
there's lots of history there. So
Well, I'm wondering, like, is she going to be willing to do it, or is she kind of gonna be like, well, then I guess I'm not in the child's life? Like, I'm interested to see what happens with that, just because like that's a really intense thing to have to deal with.
do you think that's a fair thing for them to put on her? No, I agree. Like
Mhm.
she has a difficult relationship with her parents. That shouldn't impede on her being an aunt. Like I think that was not okay.
No, well, you guys know how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
yes, blood makes you family, but sometimes your own family is not good for your mental health. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
does she have to, you know, put her own mental health at risk so that she can be involved in her niece or nephew's life? Like, that's asking a lot of somebody. So no, I
Very.
do not think it's fair.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's the part that bothered me. One thing I loved about this episode is that it was Sharon's storyline about thankfully it wasn't her kidney, but she realizes that everything that was going on with her was anxiety related. And I think it's great how they showed how much anxiety can like rip your body apart
Mhm.
and the effects that it has on people. And I just thought that that was such a good storyline for the show, but also for her. And I
Mhm.
also loved how Vince stepped up and apologized for being such a grump. And, you know, the two of them kind of bonded in that moment. And I thought that was really good. And
Well, and
um,
even her saying like, "Oh, so what is he trying to say? That it's all in my head?
Yeah,
And he was like, no, like, we know something is happening, but it's thankfully not what we thought. Do you know
that's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
even
he's a
that,
really good support system for her.
yes.
Like, I think they're really good together.
They are so good together. And
Mhm.
like I said, but that's a real conversation that happens when you're told your symptoms are anxiety, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I loved it. I thought that was wow, top notch on the writers for
Yep.
that. Um, but I think something's going to happen with Bodie and Audrey. And honestly, I felt it from the beginning when they were paired together, when he was in his first round of training. But um, yeah, she was singing and Bodie's like, ooh,
Staring, not answering his
I
phone.
know, I know. So I feel like a love triangle's brewing here.
Do we
And
know what
this,
her actress name is?
oh,
Felt
I
like
know.
I knew her.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to look it up. But she, I think so. This is where I saw the backlash on social media was people upset about this. But um, again, like it's fire country. This is what they do. Gabby's spiraling right now.
And I think we need to she needs to, honestly, she needs to be by herself. She
She
needs
does.
to figure her stuff out. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm not saying that Bodhi should be running off with another person while she's
Oh,
figuring her stuff out. I mean, if he loves her, he's gonna wait for her no matter what. But
absolutely.
maybe he needs something different for a little bit, to kind of take his mind off that stuff and to give her the chance to actually go through everything that has happened in the last little while.
Yeah.
And you know, this lady's she's a beautiful lady, so I wouldn't blame them.
Well, and you know what? Audrey's also working hard to get through the program and she's laser focused. That's what Bodhi needs right now.
Yeah.
So it's got its benefits.
She's a cadet too, right?
Yes. Yeah. So lots of drama on Fire Country this week. Loved it. Can't wait. I know there's only, I think, three episodes left before the finale, with season finale, mid-season finale.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see where it goes. And now we're going to dive into Grey's Anatomy, which I heard was a total tearjerker from lots of people this week.
Oh my God. I don't know that I ever finished sobbing.
Oh
Like,
boy.
it was so good. This episode brought me back to the first few seasons that I watched. And I mean, as much as I hate people dying and like bad, tragic things happen, those are the episodes that really capture you, right? Like,
It's
Yeah.
true.
normally sometimes I'll go on my phone and I'll start searching up Instagram or something while I'm watching a show. Let me tell you, I did not look away from the TV once.
Wow.
I was hooked. I needed to know what happened. And so, yeah, very good episode. If you were an old Grey's Anatomy fan, I mean, if you haven't watched for a while, you wouldn't know the characters that this was happening to, but this episode really took you right back. So we have Yasuda and her sister had gotten into that car accident at the end of last episode, Chloe.
Right.
And so this episode was basically dealing all with that. But before I talk about the accident, I do want to talk about one thing, just because last week we talked about how Sophia Bush's character kissed Teddy and
Yeah.
Owen Hunt got mad.
Mhm.
And this episode, I do want to say he apologized.
Oh.
And so I thought that was really big on them. Could have been in the heat of the moment because they were dealing with this big tragic
Yeah.
event and he was just like seeing how hard she was taking it. But I was like, way to go, Owen Hunt.
Yeah.
Because he should not have acted the way he did last week, blaming it on her when she really
Didn't
did
do
nothing.
anything wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to say that before I get into the tragic stuff. So
Yeah.
I was really happy with that. But yeah, so Yasuda and Chloe get brought in and some of them are leaving for the day, but they're coming out where these cars are coming in and they see that Chloe is coming and they're like, where is her sister? Like they left together. And then you see the other car coming and it's Yasuda and she looked in worse shape than Chloe did. So Chloe comes in, they get working on her and oh my gosh, me and my bad naming for the actors. What's the actor's name again? He is related to the, oh my gosh, this is,
Who does he play?
he I need to find him because this is going to piss me off because let me say his acting in this episode was
That's Jesse.
Is it Jesse?
Jesse. Is it the guy with the blue eyes? The piercing blue eyes?
No, he's like tan.
Yeah.
Yeah, is his name Jesse?
I don't know. I can't remember
What's
now.
the last name? Wait. Grey's Anatomy cast, because we need to know his name, because let me tell, and I need to know his real name, because he did so well this episode. I was absolutely blown away. And the way he handled, like, he was like, if anything, because you can't work on Family and Friends, right? We know this.
Oh, God, no.
When you work in the
Nana
hospital.
knows that, yeah.
But he knew that Yusuda would want him to stay with his sister. And she did say, stay with Chloe, right?
Okay.
So oh my gosh, this is really going to piss me off if I can't figure out who he is.
Yeah, I'm not too onto Grey's
Hold on.
Anatomy.
I'm doing Interns 2024.
Is he new?
He is newer. Yeah. He's he's in the intern class with Yusuda.
Is it Alex? Dr.
Juan Yusuda.
Nico. Is it Nico? Play Lucas?
Lucas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his name is Nico. Okay.
Yeah.
Round of applause for him, because this man, he stepped up. He went and he told Dr. Weber, I understand that we don't work on people, but you probably know her better than I know her, because you worked on her with her cancer and stuff. And so he's like, let me help. Yusuda wants me to stay with her. This is what she wants, right? And so he stepped up and he took care of her, and he did everything that he could, even if sometimes it was just like standing in the back doing the background things. Just him being there, I'm sure, even though Yusuda, shortly after she came in, we lost consciousness of her. But I'm sure even in that state, she was grateful that he did that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like I said, she did not seem as bad as Yusuda. But let's remember, she does have cancer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She'd gone through her first treatment.
Yeah.
So Yusuda comes in, and again, she's like panicked. I'm sure I've never been in an accident, or definitely not anything this bad. And like, she came in and her eyes were just massive. She was like, what in the world just happened? And like, where's my sister? Is everything going to be okay? And then shortly after she gets in and they start taking her and doing stuff, they lost her, right? Because she was internally bleeding, I believe it was.
Oh,
she still
no.
They had to like put tubes and stuff in her, like, and so they get her in for the surgery that she needs done immediately. And the doctors are all fighting about what needs to be done.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
So they end up deciding to put it on hold, pack her up while she's still open, because they were already, in the surgery, put her in the ICU, and then, they come back and they decide exactly what they're going to do. And, she says, literally right as the surgery is starting, she says, speak now or forever hold your peace. We are not switching anything we've discussed.
Yeah.
And we're doing this, and we're going to save Yusuda. And she's out for days, right? I guess, Suzanne, is that like, are they in a coma at that point?
They sometimes will put him in one to help.
Like a medically induced one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so she came out of surgery and she was out for days, right? They were just waiting for her to wake up. And then she eventually wakes up. And, but it was this part, I think, that was also so great for me, was seeing everybody take turns being by her side every single day, right? She was never alone. She always had somebody with her. So while she's, in the surgery and, in this medically induced coma, her sister passes away.
Oh God.
Typical Greys.
Which
Someone
is
can't
interesting
suffer enough.
I thought she was going to stay alive. I thought Yusuda was going to die. I think we talked about this last week
You
on the
did.
live.
You said she was next.
Because, I seen this accident, and like I said, she looked like she was worse. And even as she came in, she looked so much worse. And Chloe ends up dying.
Man, I don't even watch the show and I want to cry.
And then they had to tell her when she woke up.
Oh my goodness.
Her, Miranda Bailey had to tell her that her sister is gone. And again, also, I already know Miranda is her actor. I don't know her real name, but she is such a good actress. Like, she's incredible. And this exactly proved that she still is. Like, I feel like we haven't really gotten any, since the crossover with Station 19, Grey's Anatomy has not really seen Miranda Bailey in her normal character, I feel like. But now her husband's back on the show and stuff, I'm feeling like we're getting that, her regular character back again, which is kind of nice. So maybe a good thing about the Station 19, even though I miss it so much.
Yeah.
I am liking that her husband is back and we're seeing her in her usual capacity again. But she had to tell Yasuda that her sister was dead, and the way she was there to support her, just in silence, right? Holding her hand.
Well,
And
sometimes that's all you need.
yeah, and the pain you could see in her face, like she's just so good. Like she's so good. But so now what I am interested to see is going to be what the dynamic with the interns turns out to be, because they like, is she going to stay? We know that she's leaving this season, right? So what is going to happen? Is she going to die? Is there going to be some sort of complication, or is she going to decide to leave and go back home? Like,
I don't think they can kill her off too.
No,
that's tragic.
Oh God, you know how
you just took her sister out.
Yeah, you can.
So that will be interesting to see, and also so the dynamic between the interns, and then yes, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how she leaves. And if it's soon, I don't think they ever said a date. They just said she was leaving this season.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, maybe it'll be the mid-season premiere or mid-season finale that you find out, which I think is next week.
So we'll see. And then also one last thing I do want to talk about. We talked about on the live, Jake leaving the show, Jake Brelly. So good. I love him. And he left on a high note. And honestly, this is what the episode needed. It was so depressing. And his partner, James, he tells him, why don't you move with me to Texas? And he doesn't think he's gonna, right? It was an awkward conversation, and he kind of like sends him away pretty quickly. And he tells him to meet him in the lobby, and he doesn't come. And so Jake thinks like, this is it, right? Like we're just gonna do long distance. And he ends up leaving with him.
Yay!
So that was so special. And Joe Wilson did ask him to be the godfather of her new babies.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was so special too. Like they showed, I think this was for sure his last episode, so they did a little montage, and I was literally sobbing. There were so many things I didn't remember, like when his glasses fell into the patient when he was doing the surgery, and that's why they called him Glasses Forever. I forgot. And I forgot that he slept with Joe Wilson. It just took me right back. I'm telling you, this episode was so good. I could watch it over and over again, even though it was so depressing.
Oh my gosh.
Also so happy.
And the acting sounded amazing. So
but honestly, this is what I mean. It sucks to see people die, but this is where you see if somebody's a good actor. You know what I mean? So if it's just happy-go-lucky all the time, and like people you don't know passing away and stuff like that, and I get you get connected to your patients, and I'm sure you understand. But I feel like when one of your own goes, this is how you see who is really
for sure.
Absolutely.
So, great episode. Watch it if you haven't.
Well, it sounds like people need to tune in, especially if they missed it and they watch it regularly.
Yes.
Okay. Let us know what you thought about the episode, because it'd be awesome to see everyone's thoughts for sure, because that seems like a heavy one.
Yeah, did it bring you back to the previous old seasons that were so good, or I'm telling you guys, maybe I'm too easy to please, but I really liked it. It's been a while since I've really loved a Grey's episode.
That's good. That's good. That's what they need. That's what they need right now. Yeah.